It's the media's job to report on big news, but they forgot a major news story this week. And I'm going to set out to prove they did it on purpose, especially here in Canada. President Trump recently had dinner with political commentator and critic and comedian Bill Maher at the White House. Bill Maher is one of President Trump's harshest critics. How harsh, Jay? He insulted President Trump's mother. That's pretty harsh. Now, Bill Maher himself, in a recent interview just before he went to go have dinner with President Trump, recently said, and I quote, "There was nobody that was harder on Trump than I was," end quote. How did these two guys get together? Enter the singer, Kid Rock. Kid Rock is a close personal associate to Donald Trump, and he called in a favor. Hey, why don't you get together with Bill Maher? Maybe we can bring this country together, was his idea, because he had been on Bill Maher's show. We have these two guys having dinner at the White House, courtesy of Kid Rock, and that's a big news story. That should have been reported on, a lot more than it was. Now, welcome to Canada's paid-off press. They don't just make their money off of views or subscriptions from real people. They get money from the government. That means me and you and everybody else that pays taxes. They don't have to actually be responsive to their customers. I challenge you actually to Google CTV, CBC, and Global News in relation to dinner between Trump and Bill Maher. You will not find any news stories. I actually went to CTV's site and I searched on their own site for Bill Maher, anything about Bill Maher. I did the same on Global News. And I came up with stories about Bill Maher on his own without Trump. Actually, in fact, I came up with a recent story about Bill Maher sitting down and talking with Chrystia Freeland, one of the leadership hopefuls to become the candidate for Prime Minister here in Canada. She actually lost. He interviewed her, and they wrote about it. And they also wrote about him 2 years ago during the writer's strike. Had nothing to do with Canada. And it was on CTV News website. Global News last wrote about Bill Maher last year in conjunction with his comments with regards to Canada. And I quote, Bill Maher, and this might have something to do with why they're not reporting on this. Bill Maher didn't make any friend up here in Canada when he said this. At its worst, Canada is what American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on extreme wokeness. Are you awake yet? But one of the leadership hopefuls thought that enough Canadians watched Bill Maher to actually show up on his show to promote herself for Prime Minister. So why didn't they report on Bill Maher's dinner meeting with President Trump? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. Their narrative was listed in one of their recent stories, actually April 3rd. President Trump just met with Laura Loomer. Maybe some people don't know Laura Loomer. And they said in that story, and they wanted to get it out after they reported on this, that she had met and he had done something for her, and you can read the story yourself, that he has a history of associating with far-right activists and conspiracy theorists. They wanted to be able to say that, and they wanted to prove it by saying that he met with Laura Loomer, who happens to have 1.5 million followers on X, the former Twitter. But why didn't they report on Bill Maher, who they've reported on before, who has 10.7 million followers on X and has a far greater presence in the real lives of Canadians? Because didn't Chrystia Freeland go onto his show to sell herself to be the Liberal leader here in Canada? This is why you need to subscribe to my channel. Because if you were to listen to the news, even in the US, it was mostly Fox News that was reporting on this dinner, by the way. I wasn't seeing a lot from CNN, if anything at all, because it doesn't fit the left's narrative about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's supposed to be like an egomaniac. He's supposed to get mad at people. He's supposed to not have dinner with people that he doesn't like. But he had dinner with a guy he doesn't like. This doesn't fit their narrative. So that's why you need to subscribe to my channel. Please like, comment. I always enjoy comments. And share this video. And I don't just do videos about news. I've done lots of videos, foundational videos about Canada and Alberta's place in Canada, because I live here in Alberta. And I'll leave you with this one quote, because I live in Alberta. And Premier Danielle Smith, our Alberta Premier, is getting criticized heavily in the same media for going down to talk to U.S. media, while other people like Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland are not getting criticized at all. Even Doug Ford's not getting criticized. But Danielle Smith is getting criticized for going down to talk to President Trump, going down to talk to PragerU and Ben Shapiro. So I'll leave you with this one quote from our Premier, and I believe that it's the basis on which she agrees with Bill Maher, who might not even agree with her on a lot of things. And I quote, "If you've got a problem in your relationship, you talk more rather than talk less." That's Danielle Smith, by the way. That's what she just said on PragerU. And didn't Bill Maher just say the same thing when he was on with Cuomo in an interview before he did the dinner at the White House? Here's a few quotes from that exchange with Cuomo. "It's a beginning to heal America. It is an honor to be invited to the White House. I'm impressed by it a lot. Let's talk face to face. Let's stop shouting from 3,000 miles away. You gotta try, man." These were all of what he said recently before he went to the White House dinner. I think he's in agreement with Premier Danielle Smith. And a lot of people in the United States and Canada agree with much of what Bill Maher has to say. And it sounds like Danielle Smith would agree with Bill Maher and could sit down with Bill Maher. Why doesn't Danielle Smith sit down with Bill Maher? And Bill Maher have a sit down with Danielle Smith. She's been in the press a lot lately and did actually meet with Donald Trump. Maybe they can have a good conversation about that. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe they can have a big meetup, Kid Rock, Bill Maher, and Danielle Smith. Maybe even President Trump. They can have like a big panel discussion. And I think that would sell. And maybe Bill Maher, if he's feeling a little outnumbered, he can bring on, who would he bring on? Give me a suggestion of who Bill Maher and Danielle Smith could sit with. And hey, I can't say this enough. Please subscribe to my channel. It takes a lot of time to make these videos, a lot of research. It doesn't cost you anything to hit the subscribe key or the like key. Nobody knows that you liked my video. Nobody knows that you subscribe to me. If you want to make a comment and you want to make yourself known, that's great. It's also great too if you don't want to do that. Please share if you feel that this was a useful video. I can't say it enough. Thank you very much for your support and for watching and all that you do for me out there. I'll continue making these videos as long as you want to keep watching them. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.